Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars. Come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has. When you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am one of your hosts for the evening, Aggie, and with me is the very awesome Rowdy Rick. How are you doing this evening?
You're the only host on the show that matters, so there's that.
That is not true. It's a he said, she said. So obviously we both matter, 50-50.
Hey, I started this thing as a fill-in host, and then everybody was like, "Yeah, we don't think he's coming back."
I know. But yes, you're still important. So there's that.
I'm
So there you
just
go.
oh. So, yeah, no, it's been fun. I've been watching all the liberals melting down and, because Monday is coming and they're beside themselves because they can't believe that we elected literally Hitler again. And
It's funny.
it's been so much fun to watch.
It has been. It has been. I know that you've been not feeling well this whole week, and I'm hoping that you're, you know, past that turn.
Well, hang on. There. That way just in case. So far I seem a lot better than I have been the last few days, but funny thing is every time I think, "Hey, I'm finally," and then I start trying to get back to work, and I even started slow this last week. I was like, "Okay, I'm only gonna do like half of what I normally do, just so I don't overdo it because I've been so sick." And then or the week before. And then by Monday, I was like, "Oh, it's happening again." I don't know what is up with this current strain of man cold, but it just will not let go. It's just
Yeah, it has been bad. It really has.
well, and then on top of everything else, I chipped a tooth, so that's been fun.
Ugh,
But yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Everybody has been having issues of one or another. I mean, I posted a funny meme, and of course it was misspelled, and I didn't catch that, and I was told, "Oh, trail or trial," and I'm like, if you understood it, then don't worry about it. It's just a meme. It's not a big deal.
So yes, before anybody asks, I will be going to the dentist shortly. I just have to wait until I have an opening in Gracie's schedule because I'm school bus driver and multiple hat wearer. So probably in the next month or so, I'm gonna figure out a day that I can go to the dentist. The good news is I think it's to the point now where I think yesterday was the worst of it because it hurt so bad. I'm pretty sure the nerve was just like, "Are you gonna fix this or not?" And since I didn't fix it, it eventually just died because now the tooth feels funny. So I think I'm good now for at least a little bit. As long as I keep everything clean, I should be fine for about a week or so.
That's good. And Oragel is your friend.
That's
Just
just
saying.
it. It doesn't hurt anymore.
Oh, well, okay.
The nerve's finally like, "Yeah, you're not listening, so we're just gonna die." Which I've been through this before, believe it or not, because I chipped a tooth in a bar fight years ago, and I didn't have insurance, so I toughed it out for a long time. I didn't finally get it fixed until it was when we bought this house, so this happened all the way back in, like, 2008. I finally got it fixed in, like, 2015, and by the time and this is why I won't wait this long, because by the time I went to because I had insurance that was actually worth the damn. So, by the time I went in to get this done, the dentist was like, "Dude, if we don't get your blood pressure and shit under control, we're gonna have to take you to the ER. We're pretty sure you're close to septic." It's like, "Damn, okay." So yeah, luckily they got me under control enough that they were able to yank the tooth, but I was pretty close to getting admitted that day, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that because human saliva has so much flora, but also so many germs and everything that a chipped tooth can lead to, at the very least, an abscess, at the very most, sepsis. I mean, it that's pretty much what ended Queen Hatshepsut, if I recall correctly. Her term as pharaoh, she died because of sepsis due to a tooth. So I'm like, yeah, don't ignore it. Please don't.
Oh no, I won't be this time. At least not as long as I did the last time.
Yeah, so just saying, don't die. That's all I'm saying.
Well, at least I could kick it with Ron again.
This is true. That would be a great upside.
And I
See,
wouldn't have
there's always a silver lining.
And I wouldn't have to deal with any of the crap down here anymore. Not that I'm trying to sell anybody on the idea that I'm trying to check out or anything, because trust me, I'm not. I'm just saying. There are upsides. I can find them.
I find them all the time. It's my brand, apparently. Somebody, one of my friends was telling me that he's had a really rough time. And I was like, yeah, but you need to look for the upside of everything. You need to look for the silver lining. And one of our favorite ex peeps was demoted. He didn't lose his job. He was demoted, but he didn't lose his job. And I was like, that's your silver lining. It's, I know it sucks. I've been demoted, so I know what it feels like, but it beats the hell out of losing a job. And,
not to be that guy, but in this day and age, demotion is usually one step away from being out the door.
yeah, but you're not out the door yet. And that gives you some time, some breathing room to actually see if you want to find something new, if you want to go somewhere else. So, I'm a Pollyanna. Okay. This is my dad called me that for the longest time because I was always like that. I love that movie and I took it to heart. I always look for the good in people. I always look for a reason to be glad. I always look for the silver lining. It drives people nuts, but I do that. I can't help it. But
I was gonna say my next question though was, did they get to keep the same pay scale? Because technically that would be a promotion because they have to do less work for the same money.
I don't know. He did not say, but for me, I mean, I'm just like, you got to look at the upside.
Hey,
Always.
Great minds think alike, Em. I just noticed you have the same thing I just asked. Oh, anyway. Sorry, I'm checking something because I'm getting reports that some people are saying the audio is choppy, so bear with me for just a second. Enough of a delay that I can.
Hey, the upside is that we do have audio. It may be choppy, but it's still audio. You see, I always look for the upside.
This is true. My favorite button. Nope, not choppy on our side. All right. MD, you might want to try hitting F5, brother.
Yeah, everybody says, yeah, that's fine. So anyway, but yeah, it has been a week and we are now in the countdown phase until Monday. And there are some people who are really, really looking forward to it. And there's some that are not looking forward to it. I heard reports that on the Book of Faces, people were blacking out their profile pictures in protest for the coming administration. I'm like, what does that achieve? I'm serious. I'm asking, what does that achieve?
It allows them to virtue signal. That's all it is.
Well, one of my friends said, well, now I know who to mute. I mean, like, okay, yeah. There's your upside.
That's one way to look at
it. But I went through my list of friends looking to see if anybody had done it, and nobody had done it, but I did find several people had deactivated their accounts. And one of them in particular kind of had me a little concerned because it's not something she would normally do. So I'm wondering if that is her way of protesting the coming administration. So I'm not sure what's going on over there, but I didn't see, going into people's groups or, into the groups that I'm in or whatever. I didn't see anybody with blacked out pictures. So maybe a lot of people haven't gotten the memo yet, or they're waiting until Monday. But, virtue signaling is like, it's useless. It actually makes you look bad to virtue signal. So, I don't know. But, people will, they try to do the very, very least for the most attention. That's what I found.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like all the staffers that are like, about to be out of a job. That are like, we should make sure that we get 35 hour, what is it, 32-hour work weeks? Like, dude, you're about to not have jobs anymore. Why do you care what your work week is? But I mean, okay. So, and please don't misunderstand what I'm about to say, because I'm not trying to bash anybody that does the 40-hour work week thing. But one of the reasons why we can't survive in this country anymore is because most people that could survive, it wasn't because they were working 40-hour work weeks. It's never really been that way. It was for a little bit. 50s and the 60s when our money was worth something. It was. But in the 70s, people started having to, work their asses off to get things. And also at the same time, even if you were able to survive on a 40-hour work week, you definitely weren't thriving on a 40-hour work week. You were able to put food over your head, you had a roof, you had access to a car, and you were able to go into a job and do that for 40 hours a week. And eventually you might have gotten a retirement and a gold watch. I don't know about you, but that's never really been my version of the American dream. So I've never really done a 40-hour work week. Even when I've had a 40-hour work week, I've done 20, 25, 30, 35 hours on the side doing other shit because I don't just want to work for somebody else for my entire existence, because that sucks, because then all I'm doing is making everybody else a lot more money than I'm seeing. I never have really understood that mindset.
I did see where, the white, I guess, Capitol Hill staffers and people who work there were asking for a 32-hour week. No change in pay, mind you, just lowering the amount of hours that they work so that they could be more productive, and it would be a better, there would be less stress and all this stuff. I mean, they wrote all this stuff up, and I'm like, uh, yeah, this is not going to work, because if you want to cut back your hours, you should be willing to cut back your pay. That I had to do that the first time when I was still working for the Disney stores side. I was expecting my first, and I was not going to be able to be in management. It was just too grueling on me. At Disney, you do not work a 40-hour week, you work a 48-hour week, because you're supposed to work you work more than what's expected of you. Most people would have a 40-hour week because they work 8 hours a day. At Disney, they expect you to put in another hour per day. That's just the way it is. The pay was commensurate. I mean, I never complained about it, but when I found out that I was pregnant, there was just no way that I was going to be able to be on my feet for 9 hours a day after I started, after the baby started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I asked for a demotion. And, the director pulled me, called me to her office. I drove up there, and I was getting ready to beg to keep any job. I didn't care, even if it was just 4 hours. I just wanted something to do. She just wanted to let me know that there was no way that I could keep my pay with lower hours. And I was like, no, that's fine. I didn't want to keep my pay. At this point, I was married. It was a two-income, household, but I was, married to somebody in the military, and we were getting ready to move anyway in about a year. So I was not expecting to stay on working for the corporation, past that point. And so I was like, oh, no, 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 you don't understand. And so when I explained my situation, she was like, oh, thank goodness. She thought that I wanted to keep my pay and all of my benefits, but just work half the hours. And I'm like, on God, who would even think of that? And I told her, I was like, I never would have thought to do that. If I'm taking a reduction in hours, I expect a reduction in pay. It's fair. And so a deal was worked out because, I had been with the company for so long. I did keep all of my benefits anyway. I did have a reduction in pay because I was not going to be working that many hours. And I was no longer in the managerial position, so I was doing something else. But to have all of these staffers coming and saying, well, we think it would be better to work less hours, but don't touch our benefits and don't touch our salaries. We want to do better for you, but that requires less hours. That makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand that either. It was tripping me up all week.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could almost see, doing a 4-day work week if maybe you shifted to like 4 10s and then had a day off, like whether it was, in the middle of the week or on a Friday. I used to work a schedule like that. I didn't mind it. It was 2 10s on, 1 day off, 2 10s on, and then 2 days off. So I actually kind of preferred that because it felt like my week went by a little bit faster. But then again, most of the time when I was working that schedule, like I said, usually on my Wednesday off, I was either doing things that had to be done or doing things for other
Mhm.
projects, or I mean, I've never in my life worked a 40-hour work week. I mean, hell, I used to mow the yards in the summer for more than 40 hours a week just to be able to have convenience store money and shit. I don't understand. I don't understand that new mindset. And the thing about it is, it's not even really a new mindset because I've heard all these people that have been telling me, well, you just don't know because by the time you were a kid, our economy was in the shitter, but people used to be able to be a bag boy at Safeway and afford an apartment and everything else. I'm like, I don't know how, unless money
Oh,
would. I mean,
no. No, no. No, I don't remember that. Um, were we still in the gold standard when this happened? That's what I want to know.
that's the only thing I can think
Because
of.
I don't remember that happening in the 70s.
Because yeah, that might have been right around the same time that we decoupled from the gold standard because everybody decided that we were going to be the world's money changers, and to be able to do that, we needed to be able to print money whenever the hell we wanted to. So we couldn't have a gold standard anymore because it wouldn't work because it created scarcity. Look, I'm not a big believer in scarcity for a lot of things, but money is supposed to be scarce for a reason. When there's too much of it, it's not worth
Yes,
anything.
that's true. Excuse me. So, but anyway, that is actually kind of sort of related to tonight's topic in a way,
Mm,
maybe.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I was like I said, I was looking at the looking for the profile pics that were dark, blacked out or whatever, and I noticed that one of my relatives had actually deactivated her account. And it got me to thinking, I'm like, I wonder if she deactivated her account because she was getting a lot of heat for what she was saying about those who voted for Trump, and like once you deactivate an account, you can't go look back and see what they have written, it's kind of in a void until you choose to come back and then it, comes back. But I started thinking because I also noticed that my niece was being very active on the Book of Faces and was saying some things, and I'm like, man, this girl, she is something else. I just cannot. She is so far left. She's waiting for single payer. She screams about Medicare for all. She's doing all of this stuff. Meanwhile, she relies on her parents. She's 35 and she relies on her parents to float her loans whenever she needs money for anything. And I'm just like, yeah, she's never going to change, right? And one of the things that I had talked to my sister about is like, how long are you going to tolerate doing that? And my sister didn't like my choice of expression. And I was very contrite. I didn't want to upset my sister. I didn't want her to be mad at me because I'm not the target. I should not be the target of her ire. But I did, in retrospect, tolerance is the correct word to use in that scenario because my sister has tolerated my niece's ways and the way my niece speaks about those that are on the right side of the political spectrum, and she keeps complaining about my niece, but never does anything. You know, she's not proactive about changing that situation. So I asked her, how long are you going to tolerate doing this? And she didn't have, obviously she just got mad at me, but so she didn't have anything to say about it. She didn't have an answer. And I started thinking, I have expressed that before on several podcasts to where I'm just done. I can't tolerate this kind of stuff anymore. I'm at my age. How much longer do I have to keep tolerating stuff that's actually it impacts me negatively? to the point where the guilt of it starts to, like, cripple me. And it's guilt that I shouldn't even be feeling. I just, putting myself in my sister's shoes, my niece had told my sister that she needed some money for her daughter. She has a 2-year-old. And my sister, without even asking, she said, "Yeah, sure, I'll just transfer it to your account." Transferred the money to the account. And 2 days later, my niece is complaining about my sister on social media as to how she is not a very giving person because my niece has to constantly ask. My sister doesn't go out of her way to ask and to ask her, "Do you need anything?" So that was her complaint, because my sister has a job and a husband to take care of and a household to run, and she's not asking, "What do you need today?" My sister's not giving enough. And I'm like, "Well, when are you going to stop tolerating this? She's actually shitting on you right now." I don't understand. And my sister was defending her. And she was saying, the words to the effect of, "If I don't do this, then she won't love me." And I said, if her love is dependent on what you give to her physically, of what kind of money she gets from you, then she doesn't love you. That's not love. And my sister was very quiet and did not return any comment after that. And maybe I helped her to understand that there comes a time when you actually have to come to your boundaries. You need to define your boundaries when it comes to tolerating stuff. And this goes with not just politics, but things in your life. I mean, I'm done tolerating the sun. I wear sunblock all the time, but I'm at the point where even in summer I will wear a long sleeve shirt because I don't like the way the sun feels on my skin. It's actually painful sometimes. So so I mean, and that's a silly tolerance. I get it. That's absolutely silly.
Well, so it's interesting that you wanted to bring this up because this is something that I have actually thought about doing a short podcast on because of how tolerant we are supposed to be, especially if we're Christians. Because, in the gospel, it says if they strike you on your right cheek, turn your left. Nobody understands what that meant in that society, though. It
Mhm.
was rude to show them the left side of your face because if anything was left-sided, it was wrong. It was passive defiance. It wasn't tolerance. It was basically telling them to fuck off without telling them to fuck off.
Yeah. It's like when you were doing a contract in the Old Testament, one of the things that you had to over was a shoe. If you didn't, you were basically spitting on them. So, but most people don't know what that is. And now we are supposed to, they always say, turn the other cheek. And I'm like, I have 2 cheeks on my face and 2 cheeks on my backside. And even though those are pretty ample, I run out. I can't keep turning them. There comes a time when you have to stop tolerating people hating on you, people being, like Danielle said, being toxic. Thing is, toxic, it has a very has a definition it's hard to define. It's kind of like, I don't know what pornography is, but I would recognize it. Remember that? I can't define it, but I would recognize it, that kind of thing. For a very long time, I did not know that I had toxic people in my life. I just thought, well, these people have certain issues and I need to make sure that I do not exacerbate those issues. But it turns out that they were toxic. And it wasn't until a therapist friend of mine pointed out what was really going on that I got to see it in that respect. And that happened to be, what was going on with my sister-in-law, with her, saying, "Well, you voted against my rights. If you voted for Trump, you're a Nazi, saying all of these things, knowing full well that out of everybody in the extended family of my siblings, myself, and my parents, she and my niece were the only ones that voted left. Everybody else voted right. Now, some of us wrote in, but they were still right-wing people that they wrote in, but it was all, we all voted right. So basically she was saying that we were all Nazis. Just because she didn't actually say it to my face doesn't mean that she didn't call me that. She honestly believes that the Nazi party is arising in MAGA. She believes that Hitler has come back in Trump. She does believe this because her rights, according to her, have been taken away. And I'm like, what rights were you talking about? And she said, our reproductive rights. And I'm like, I'm sorry, last I heard, I can still have children if I wanted to. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm like, to reproduce literally means to have a child. So what reproductive rights are you talking about? I wanted to pin her down, and she would not come out and say abortion. She just wouldn't do it because she knew the moment she said it, she knew what it would sound like, right? And so, this is something that I discussed with my sisters, and my two of my sisters are just completely done with her. They're like, that bridge is completely burned, and they're not going to rebuild it. They're done. Me, I'm always more open, and I always leave the bridge up, and I'm, the other person may burn their side, but my side will always be up. And that's just the way I am. I've always been that way, regardless. There is a former friend who decided to end the friendship with me because I was not anti-Trump enough back in 2016. And this was a guy that we've been friends for about 8 years. And he cut all ties completely. And I still have hope that one day he will actually reach and say, hey, I still don't agree with Trump and I don't like what he does or whatever, but I shouldn't have taken that on you because, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you, who to vote for. And this is what it boils down to. They were telling me who to vote for. People who actually were impacting me negatively were actually trying to sway my vote by incurring feelings of guilt and abandonment and things of that nature. And that's where the toxicity came in. And that's where my tolerance level decided, hey, I don't have to put up with this. Seriously, I sat down and I looked in my journal and I'm rereading stuff that I have been writing for the past, 5 years. And I'm looking at it going, holy crap, I put up with a lot of shit from people, thinking that putting up with what they were, throwing at me, I was making excuses saying, they're going through a tough time, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, they weren't really going through a tough time. They're just assholes. Once I realized that point, I was able to define where my tolerance level was. And there are some things that you just don't want to tolerate anymore. And this past year has opened my eyes a lot because I tolerated a lot. I'm a very patient person. I have the patience. I know saints that are jealous of my patience level. Okay, that's how patient I am. My mom still can't figure it out. She gets mad at me because I am so patient. And I'm like, I thought that was a good thing, being patient. Yes, but you take it to like holy levels and you're human and that shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be this patient. I'm like, what? Taking it to holy levels. But I'm a very patient person. And when I found my patience being tested, that's when I figured out where the line to my tolerance was. And it was very eye-opening. because, like I said, I'm a very patient person.
I mean, me too. I'm usually one of those. I mean, I'm the one that shows up anytime anybody calls. It can be 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Somebody calls and I'm awake enough to answer. Then I'm there. But after a while, eventually you just have to go. And I've said this on even on this show before. Eventually, you have to stop pouring into cups that don't pour into yours, because eventually you're going to have nothing left. And that's a hard lesson to learn, especially for somebody that, grew up hearing the stories about the lady with the flour in her barrel, and she kept giving and giving and giving from the barrel, and God kept replenishing. But eventually, at some point, even God's like, dude, I'm bringing these people into your life to teach you a lesson, and you're not learning it.
Right.
So it's time to learn it.
And it took me a while. I mean, there was a lot of prayer. There was a lot of talking with my former priest, um, and because there was guilt involved. I felt guilty for not tolerating that which was dished out to me. And it wasn't until Father Stephen said, last I checked, you were not due to be crucified. That's when the light started like burning brightly, and when he said that, it made me realize that, yeah, I had kind of been acting like, taking all of this shit because I was going to be crucified for something. I mean, I was at that point. Where do I stop? Where do I stop taking shit from people who don't care about me? They just do it because it makes them feel better. And I'm like, I'm not responsible for them making feel, I'm not responsible for how they feel. I'm responsible for how I feel. It's like good friend of mine. He was having marital issues, and his wife came up to him one day and said, I am not happy. And something in him broke, and he looked at us like, that's not my problem. And she was like, what do you mean? And he says, I'm not responsible for the way you feel. I'm not responsible for your happiness. You're responsible for what makes you happy. And after that, things started to get better between them. But
we tried to have that hard conversation around here. It went the other way. She went and found somebody else who would prioritize her happiness. I don't know how long that's going to last, though.
But that's just it. I had that same issue. I did. Every year on my birthday, I was always really loath to even celebrate it. I hated celebrating my birthday. Why? Because in my entire life, I can only remember having 2 birthday parties. And most of the time, my birthday just came and went with a card from my parents and a gift. And that was that. And it, after that, even my friends would not acknowledge. And sometimes my husband would always have trouble trying to pick out a gift for me. And it just got to the point where it was so stressful for him that it would ruin things for me. And I had an epiphany. I'm like, he's not responsible to make me happy on this day. I'm responsible to make me happy on this day. And from then on, I started planning my birthday. And he is just fine with that. He's like, finally, okay, whatever you plan, I will execute. And I'm like, yay, great. We're a team now. It took me years to get to that point. But yeah, I now, once you realize that you are responsible for your happiness, that's where your tolerance level starts to shrink. It starts going down. You find yourself not tolerating things that you used to tolerate because you didn't want to hurt other people, or because you didn't want to cause a ruckus, or you didn't want to get into an altercation. And you find, no, I'll get into the altercation because they need to know that this is not going to work for me. I need to be happy for me, and this is not going to work. And so that opens you up to being less tolerant of stuff. And it doesn't have to be, and I'm not talking about like I said, politics is a main thing, but culturally as well. And we all found that out when the LGBTQ, mostly the T and the Q, started going after the kids. We found our tolerance level real quick when that happened. And
Yeah, well,
when
yeah. At this point, even most of the LGB has lost it with the T, the Qs, and the
yes,
rest
they
of the alphabet,
have.
because
A
they're
lot
like,
of them have.
we got what we wanted, and now y'all are fucking it up. They're starting to hate us again. We didn't do any of this.
No, they didn't. And to be honest, it's the T and the Q and everything after that we have an issue with. LGB is fine as far as I'm concerned. And the thing is, we found that we would not tolerate that. Well, guess what? Oh, we don't have to tolerate other things too. That whole, well, she identifies as a woman. You notice that when he identifies as a man, a female to male, that has never been an issue in the culture wars. And nobody asks why. Nobody has ever asked why that's not an issue. It only goes one way. And the problem with that is that the people that made it go one way are the people that are affected. And that is, the feminists. They have painted themselves into a corner. They don't know how to get out of it. And so they still say, a trans woman is a woman. And we're here to say no. We have decided we don't have to tolerate this. I do not want to be erased. It took me a very long time to actually embrace my femininity. Even after having children, I still considered myself kind of drabbish, kind of, tomboyish, not very plain ordinary, person. I never embraced my femininity in full until I was a much older person. And now they're trying to take that away from me. And I'm like, no, you can't have it. It took me a long time to find it. I'm not playing at being a woman. I'm actually flowering as one because I am one. And you're telling me because you decided to put on a dress and makeup that you're a woman too? That's not the way it works. So I don't have to tolerate it. And I don't.
So one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy about all this is there is a dude in a dress that has been elected to the House that is now a minority whip, like one of the junior minority whips. Like just got elected, like a freshman senator, freshman Congress critter, member of the House, is now like a junior minority whip because it's a dude in a dress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just nuts to me.
And the moment we need to stop tolerating the alphabets, the titles, the firsts. Oh my gosh, the firsts drive me crazy. This is the first Black woman elected from this state. Nobody cares. I don't care. You guys are the ones that are telling me about equality, about, wanting to be, the same as, white people or whatever. And now you're telling me, now you're dividing them into the first Black woman from this district to be elected to Congress. Nobody cares. I don't. I had one of my relatives in Puerto Rico asking me, why is it so important? And I was like, it isn't. They're just telling you it is because it makes them feel better.
It makes them feel.
Yeah. And I'm like, why the firsts, all of those, the first this, the first that, it means nothing. It is not an achievement. You got elected like everybody else. You're not the first anything. And I just don't get that. I'm like, it's what you're saying is that you have broken a cultural barrier, but the point is you put that barrier there so that you could break it. That's why these first things are so important to the left. They put up those barriers there so that they can be broken by their people. And it drives me crazy because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're the first person from District 31 that is, half Japanese and half South African to be elected from that district. It doesn't matter. What matters is what comes after you get elected. That's where the judgment comes in. And this is what people don't understand. It's like, can anybody tell me anything that Adam Schiff ever did before he became a senator. No.
Talk about failing upward. I still don't even understand that.
I'm serious. The same thing for Harris. You can't tell me that she had done anything. Seriously, there were people asking, look, we just
Anything,
won.
no, but someone, yes.
Yeah, she did plenty of people. And that's another thing. I used to not tolerate, I used to, be rather tolerant of people, and I wouldn't make fun of them, and I wouldn't say anything about their, how they screwed their way to the top. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm no longer tolerating that either. I'm like, it's a free for all now. Anybody that comes after me because of what the manner in which I voted, if they think I voted a certain way and they judge me because of my vote, deserves the same back. And I have absolutely no problem with that anymore. I used to be okay when in 2016, Trump won. I will admit, I did not vote for Trump. I actually wrote in Ted Cruz. Yes, big admittance right now. And I decided, well, he got voted in and Cruz is okay with that. So I'm going to watch what happens. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was very happy with the way Trump managed to serve his term as president. I had no quibble with it. I had some quibbles with some things, but they were minuscule or whatever. But I had people that were, I guess, assuming that because I was cheering Trump on about certain things, that I had voted for him. And so they would call me all sorts of names. I also had people who, when they found out I was not planning on voting for Trump and I had not made my decision yet, decided to call me all sorts of names. That was from the MAGA side as well. And they cut ties with me. They called me the C word a lot, and I don't mean conservative. They were very vile and everything. And once Trump became
what? So wait, they called you Chica?
If that's what you want to call it. It is part of a chica, let's just say. But I had a lot of people call me that and block me and unfriend me and do all that. And then when Trump was reelected, they wanted to be friends again. And I said, absolutely not. They, somebody decided to follow me, somebody that had called me the C word back in 2016, because I had issues with Trump. And I said, look, I just have questions. And they spent 140 characters calling me the C word. And I was like, yeah, this was a guy that I had followed in blogs for years. And he said that to me. And I was like, yeah, I think I didn't know how to act about that. I was stupefied. And then he blocked me. So I was like, okay, well, I guess he took the decision out of my hands. And now he's back and he's following me. And he, tries to respond to my posts and everything. And I'm like, no, I will carry a grudge. I have said this before. I will carry a grudge until I am ashes. I think it's what's going to prevent me from leaving purgatory. Honestly, I'm going to stay in purgatory for the rest of my spiritual life. I'm pretty sure of it, because I just cannot manage to get past that. And I had somebody reach out and ask me about it. And I said, I can't. I cannot. I have forgiven them, but I cannot forget what happened. You may want to just let them, I'm sorry that it's a very personal thing for me, and I just do not want to go down that road. And that was that. But yeah, I found myself saying, I don't have to tolerate this. Somebody who treated me like dirt simply because of my political questioning. I wasn't even saying that I wasn't going to vote for Trump. I just said I'm questioning some of the stuff that he's talking about because I didn't know. I had questions and I was treated like dirt. And now this person wanted to come back into my life. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I'm not going to tolerate that. Sorry. Not sorry. But, it's just sometimes your tolerance level will be high with certain things. But there comes a time when the tolerance level will have to be lowered. And I think when it comes to politics, that is one time when you should have your tolerance level lowered because it's not, I mean, some people on the right, yes, do it as well. I'm not saying that the right is completely perfect or, innocent in this case, as evidence from the friend that called the C word, the ex-friend, I should say. But you do get most of it from the left side of the political spectrum. And abuse should never be tolerated, no matter how it is dressed. So, the same people that tell you you should never, deal with emotional abuse or verbal abuse or all that stuff, they're perfectly fine calling you names for not voting for the same person that they did. And that's wrong. So, yeah, I have found that my tolerance of certain things has decreased dramatically since this past year. I say all that just to say I just don't give a shit about some people anymore.
Oh no, I'm right there with you.
But yeah, but you were there before me.
This is true.
A lot of people were there well before me because I was still.
I kept telling you I was going to save you a seat. You're like, no.
Yeah, this is true.
Come sit next to me. I've had this seat for you for a while.
Yes, eventually, I got there. I mean, and a lot of people say, well, does that mean that you're going to be mean? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be mean-ish.
I will. Hell, I done tweeted out, hey, Canada, we only want you for your syrup.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was beautiful, actually. It's like people are complaining, when it gets -6 over here in Canada, oh, please, because of the inauguration going inside.
Yeah.
And I saw what you said to it was like, bitch, we don't want to live there. We just want to own it.
It's kind of like so we can point at it and say, hey, that's ours. Nobody else can
ours.
There. I mean, I still think if we're going to annex it, we should make it where we do. I mean, other than LA, so escape from LA can actually become a thing. I think Canada is where all the MAGA camps need to go. That in LA, because LA's already been cleared. And at least that way one Wes Carpenter movie comes true. I'm just saying.
Now, Danielle's right. She says my 2025-ish is I'm not fucking around anymore. And I'm like, we should all adopt that. Totally. I mean, seriously, my mom, she doesn't know how to handle that situation. And I told her, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't do anything. Just leave it alone. It'll work itself out without you having to do anything. And guess what? If you don't do anything, you come out the victor. Trust me on this. I'm telling her all this in Spanish so that she understands where I'm coming from. Because sometimes in English, it does lose part of the translation. So basically, what I was telling her was when it comes to my sister-in-law, she's married to my brother. The brother is the baby of the family. The son, the preferred one. So anyway, I told mom, I said, don't worry. Don't do anything. Let her bury herself. So imagine I'm saying this in Spanish. Let her bury herself and you will have done nothing. You will look fine. No one can claim that you buried her, that you were the one that shoveled the dirt on top. So all of those words in Spanish mean a lot more than what I'm saying in English. It's basically the Don Corleone kiss of death. Okay. That's pretty much the translation. And so, my mom is like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yes, mom, I'm telling you. Just do it the way I tell you, and you will not get hurt. You will not be the bad guy." And that's what she was worried. She was worried about being portrayed as the bad guy with my brother. And, my we'll all complain about my mom. My mom is, well, she's a mom. She's manipulative. She does the guilt trips and she can do that chancla thing like you would not believe. But she's our mom, and we're going to defend her from anybody else. It doesn't matter who it is. I will. My husband says something about my mom, and I look at him and I'm holding a knife, and he's like, "I'm so sorry." I mean, immediately he doesn't even. He just he apologizes and leaves the room.
Well,
I can say it, but you can't. That kind of thing.
one correction real quick before I add my 2 cents to that. I apologize for apparently somehow mixing together Wes Craven and John Carpenter, because I meant John Carpenter and said like Wes Carpenter or some shit. Anyway, but no, I completely agree, because it was like that with my brother. Anybody else talk shit about my brother, I beat their ass. It's just how it was. He was my kid brother. I'm the only one allowed to give him shit. You talk shit about my kid brother, I'm gonna beat your ass.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That's the way we are with each other too. I mean, I cannot tell you my for all the shit I give my sister number 2. I cannot tell you how often she came to my aid when we were in high school. And I'm the older one, but I was always the nice one. I could never defend myself. And she did it for me, you know. But, on the way home, it's like, God, you were so stupid to do that. I mean, she would be like ripping me a new one, whatever it was. and but she would never allow anybody to talk shit about any of her sisters. And so, that's family. That's family. But, like I was telling mom, she was afraid of just falling under what my sister was afraid of. If I don't do this, then she won't love me. And my mom was like, well, if I don't accept her, then he won't love me. And I told mom, it's like, no, that's not the way it works. You were the one that taught us what love is. So you know better than to think that way. And if he's telling you that, then that's her doing, not his. And so I told mom, it's like, let her bury herself. Under no circumstances are you to grab the shovel and pour dirt on her. In Puerto Rico, that, when you're talking about it, it's kind of a simile of, basically cutting family ties when you bury someone. So that's why it was kind of, I may say it in English, and to y'all it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool to say. But if I say it in Spanish, to somebody who speaks Spanish from Puerto Rico, they're like, it's like The Godfather, only with dirt.
It's the Puerto Rican version of "You're dead to me."
It's pretty much just like that. But it's like I don't know. I was thinking about tolerance and how the term has been co-opted by one side of the political spectrum to coerce the other side of the political spectrum into accepting and celebrating things that go contrary to their culture and their norms, and actually our culture and our norms. And it's time that we reassess the definition of tolerance in order to, scale back. Um, I will use the sociology terms of the deviant um, mores and the normal mores. That's not to say normal is all right in the head and deviant is not all right in the head. It's just normal as to the culture in that you live in, deviant that goes contrary to what you grew up in the norms. So that's why I differentiate in that manner. But it has been tolerance has been pushed in by one sector to push deviant norms and make them be normal. And that is one of the reasons why tolerance has been, the line has been kept, it has been going up and up and up, because if you don't tolerate it, then you're a bigot, you're a hater, you're a phobist, you're this, you're that. And to avoid that confrontation, you then accept it. And then you have to celebrate it. And then you have to conform to it. They will never stop, which is why tolerance, your levels of tolerance have to be lower when it comes to um, keeping the mores, the social mores in our society, in our culture, to the standard that they need to be at. Otherwise, you no longer have the culture. You no longer have the society that functions well. Boy, I get all anthropology all of a sudden. I'm drinking gin. Leave me alone.
You're drinking gin, and I'm
Yeah, I made myself a gin drink. It's Friday. I know
no,
that makes absolutely no sense to anybody. It's just that I like to rotate my booze intake.
Yeah.
No, I honestly I only make 2 drinks a week. So one for Tuesday night's podcast and one for Fridays. And then when I have the book podcast, I'll have one then. But normally I don't drink during the toxic masculinity podcast. Did you know that?
Yeah, when you're actually playing the role of
When
bartender,
I'm bartending, but bartenders don't drink on the job, so I have an out. There you go.
I'm just teasing. Oh, damn it! I had a question. So M did ask a question, and I'm assuming he's asking you. So when did you learn to do your rant?
When did I learn to do my rant? Oh my gosh. I think it was wow. When did I first start ranting here?
Shortly after you started doing podcasts.
I think it was with the A Pod Divided, which was the precursor to the Cocktail Lounge. And Brad would send me something that would just really upset me, and I would go off on a rant on those shows. And I think he does that on purpose.
Yeah, he does it on purpose.
It gives him a break. He's like, okay, let me go fix myself a drink while she's talking.
He's like, dude, I write like 6 columns a week, and I do this one, and I do this one, and I do this one. So I'm just gonna send her shit that pisses her off, and then let her go.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he does. But it's just sometimes I live out here by myself. There's not a lot to rant about. So
That and my first fiance was Puerto Rican. Y'all are hot when you're mad.
oh, I know, and it's a feature, not a bug. I mean, we're all like that. my sister, number 3, she's currently living in Germany, and she called me. I said, are you around? I need to talk to you. I was afraid. I thought I had done something. I thought I had forgotten to send her Christmas card. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but I immediately felt guilty, and I said, sure. And so she calls me and says, if I don't tell somebody, I'm just going to burst. So I was at the store, and she just goes on for 20 minutes screaming on the phone about her experience at the store. I just put it on speaker and put it on the seat next to me, because I was not going to hold the phone to my ear for that long. It was that loud, and she was just screaming and all that stuff. And then when she was done, I feel so much better. Thanks. I'll call you tomorrow. Okay. I gotta go to bed. Bye. And she hung up the phone. I spoke at the beginning saying, yeah, sure. You can, what is it? And that was the last she heard anything. She just spoke for 20 minutes. She screamed for 20 minutes. then said she had to go to bed and pie. And that was it. I mean, we do that. And it's not just Puerto Ricans, Hispanics in general do that. So, but yeah, I got, Brad kind of got me into the whole ranty situation because he would send me something that would actually, I think I remember what it was. The first one was when they removed Hispanic as an ethnicity. And I ranted for like 30 minutes on that show over the stupidity about doing that. And it was, and we were discussing how it started, and all that stuff. And I said one of the things that they used for that was George Zimmerman, because you had Trayvon Martin, you had George Zimmerman, and you had, and so he had to be white, but then they found out he wasn't white. What do we do? Oh, white Hispanic. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I went from there. So yes, I distinctly remember, I think that was the first rant I had.
Wouldn't that be like a Gringano or something?
A what?
Mixed between a gringo and a Chicano. Gringano. Anyway, I saw this. This could be an example of tolerance backfiring. Somebody made an awesome meme of John Fetterman with his hands up. You caught me. I pretended to be retarded so Democrats would think I was just like them to get elected.
Oh my goodness, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect.
I mean, I would like to point out that the dude that suffered a stroke and was having difficulty speaking is the only Democrat of like most of them that is smart enough to read the room and be like, hey, we lost. We should probably at least try to work with this guy a little bit.
Well, there were some Democrats that I actually admired in a way. Joe Lieberman was one. I've always thought that he was pretty fair. I remember distinctly back in 95 when the Monica Lewinsky thing happened, he took it upon himself to go to his constituents, have a town hall, and he is there on the stage in a chair. His tie is askew, his sleeves are rolled up, his suit is on the floor, and he is asking their opinions. It was all about them talking to him. And I was like, anybody that will do that for his constituents, he actually does, he means, he gets what his job is supposed to be. But as far as I recall, he was the only one that actually did that. Most Democrats were like, oh no, Bill Clinton is, he's just being railroaded. He actually wanted to know what his constituency wanted him to do. So he went up there and he asked them. And it was a long town hall. This wasn't a 20-minute gig. He was there for hours talking to these people. So that was one of the, Zell Miller was also one. But you'll notice Lieberman was from several years ago, and he switched over to being an independent, even though he caucused with the Democrats. Miller passed away a very long time ago also. There are not a lot of the old Democrats that are willing to work with the other party in order to get stuff done. There's not a lot of them left. And so when I saw that, Fetterman was like, I represent all of Pennsylvania. So that includes people that voted for Trump, so I need to be on the same page with these people. And he gets, screamed at for it. I don't understand. I don't.
Well, that's like apparently now, but people on both sides are pissed because I guess Snoop Dogg is going to be performing at one of the plethora of balls, and they're like, after how he Snoop Dogg.
Oh my God, he's still singing?
Yep, he's still around.
No. I know he's around because I saw his cookbook. Have y'all seen that? From crook to cook. I
Yep.
mean, this guy is a businessman galore. I gotta give him props. And I'm so tempted to buy that for my sister for next Christmas. She loves Snoop Dogg. But I didn't, I thought that he had, kind of like cut back on the singing and all that stuff.
I mean, he doesn't perform that often, but apparently they're doing they're doing something called a crypto ball just before the inauguration, and
Mhm.
he's rumored to be performing there, and everybody's like, "We can't believe you're doing this," and everybody on Trump's side is like, "We can't believe he got invited after how he treated Trump in 2016." I was like, "Dude, everybody that hated Trump in 2016 is coming over to our side. Let them do it."
I think they're kind of done, with the whole Hitler thing. I mean, I'm looking at people going, you still think that Trump is Hitler? Then why did Harris tell you that you would be okay?
Why did most of them sit with him at a funeral?
Yeah, I'm like, why was Obama, chatting with him and laughing and all doing all that stuff? And I'm like, the fact that you guys fell for that trope speaks about you a lot more than you care to understand.
I mean, I'll be completely honest. I respect the people more that are like, I'm not going to the fucking inauguration, because at least I know they actually believed it. I mean, that's like a lot of the J6 people that thought they were going there to let their voices be heard because they sincerely thought they could do something to stop an election from being stolen. I respect the people that did that. Now the plants and everybody else that got everybody ginned up, and all the footage that we've now seen where it was the police that actually started most of the crap. I have big issues with that because I used to carry a badge and a gun for a living. That's bullshit. That's not how anything was supposed to happen. That should have never been what happened. Then to find out that one of Pelosi's senior detail lied about where he was and said he saw something that he couldn't have seen because he was 150 yards away in an underground parking garage when he supposedly witnessed the shit. I'm just like, I just want to know the truth about all of it. That's just it. I want to know the truth about who did what, when it got done, who did it, punish whoever deserves to be punished, and let us know the truth about all of it so we can actually start trying to trust our institutions again. Because right now, both sides are tearing our institutions apart. And I'm not saying at this point they may not deserve to be torn apart and rebuilt, but we can't rebuild until we know what's broken. And nobody's telling us the truth right now. We're getting it piecemeal. And then every time we get a little bit, well, that's not true. We get a little bit more truth. Well, that's obviously not true. And that's like today, I saw somebody that donated to Trump for like the first time, who's some huge businessman who got a threat letter from the government. He's like, they never sent me these when I was sending money to the other side, because I guess he donated some money to the inauguration, and he got a letter about how he was blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you remember when everybody was saying this the last time, and all the left was like, these things don't happen. Now it's a member of the left showing it, and I bet you they still won't believe
it. That's so true. I mean, speaking of tolerance, it's amazing how intolerant the left is about who's performing at the inauguration and at the inaugural balls and all that stuff. I mean, look at the hatred that Carrie Underwood has gotten for this.
Yeah, they were like,
and I'm like,
oh my god, she's lost 1,000 downloads on Spotify in 2 days. I'm like, okay, so she lost $10.
I was gonna say,
yeah, she's lost about $10. Those things don't pay for shit, folks. I know, because we're tied into all of them, and I make pennies off of everything we do because they don't pay for shit. They make you think, that you're going to get famous if you get hundreds of people watching you, and then it's like, oh, you've made $30 for working for 80 hours a week, and you make that in a month. I mean, and look, I'm not bitching. I don't do this for the money. I do the writing and the other stuff that I do for the money, and the podcasts that I produce privately are the ones that make me the money. So I'm not bitching at all. I'm just saying all this idea that, all of a sudden, because you're not downloading Carrie Underwood's music, she's going to lose a ton of money. Trust me, she ain't. She's got contracts everywhere. She's
pretty sad.
I mean, so there's not any of this thing. Well, if we make them lose their rankings, they're going to lose tons of money. No, that doesn't work anymore. Not for the actual stars, because they have layers of shit, and they have people that have shown them what to do with money. The days of being like rich and being stupid don't exist anymore for most people. unless you win the lottery, and then you're likely to be broke in 6 months again because people that do that are just dumb. But this whole
Can you imagine had Taylor Swift performed at the inaugurations? I mean, oh my God! I think the world would have cracked. I mean,
I mean,
literally, the earth would have cracked open.
I have to live vlog it, so I probably would have needed eye bleach, but
Oh, come on! Some of her songs, they're kind of cute.
well,
I mean,
to be fair, my grandchild is on a Taylor Swift, and now she's found Miley Cyrus too, so that's been fun.
well, honestly, I think I have the last time that I listened to the last album I listened to of Taylor Swift was Red. So it has been a long time since I've heard any of her new stuff. But I just find it interesting that she started off with country and ended up with, pop instead. And it's kind of sad because now it's all about the show. And I'm not saying it's a bad show. Apparently it's a fantastic show that she puts on. She is a very good showman.
I will
But
say that her little routine that she does that is very reminiscent of a 60s go-go dancer in a really short skirt with weird like tassels on it doesn't
mhm.
do anything for me, but some of the other stuff I've seen was pretty decent.
Yeah, yeah, some of the stuff that she wears, and nothing, not to detract from her because she's pretty and she is a fantastic business person and has built an empire that is the envy of, I think, everybody. But again, with that attraction comes the attraction of the crazies, and they're not very tolerant either. I cannot say anything. The moment you type out her name, they will find you and they will hound you, no matter what you say about her. It doesn't matter. I tweeted out, I kid you not, there was a clip of Taylor Swift. She was wearing Christian Louboutin boots that were specially made for her for the tour. And apparently she was having trouble with one of the heels. So she ripped the heel off and threw it into the audience. And then whoever caught it decided to put it up for sale on eBay and got thousands of dollars for this heel. Okay. And I posted the clip of that and I said, oh my God, she ruined a pair of boots. And I was teasing, I was joking. The Swifties found it. It's like they're out there scouring social media for anything that might criticize their goddess so that they can descend like a pack of wolves. I mean, seriously, it was like one guy was like, you just don't understand. I'm like, I understand perfectly well that she tore the heel off a pair of boots that's valued at about between $67 and $6,800 that was specifically made for this show, admittedly, and completely ruined the boots. I get it. I understand it. I'm not sure what there isn't to understand. And he just, I mean, there was a lot of vitriol. I finally just deleted the damn thing. I was like, this is going to be one of those times when I'm actually going to delete one of my tweets, which I'm always loath to do because even when I have a mistake, I will leave it up. And, or if I'm wrong about something, I'll leave the tweet up. I will not take it down. But I was like, it's not worth it. So I just took it down. My tolerance level had hit its maximum with the weirdos. All I wanted to do was she ruined a pair of boots. I mean, they were pretty boots. They were like over the knee and iridescent rhinestones all over them. Okay. And they weren't high heels because of what she has to do on stage. High heels are kind of like, death traps. So they were shorter heels, but apparently it was loose or something and she kept tripping or something. So she finally just ripped off the whole heel and sole and threw it out. And it was just, the amount of intolerance that I got for posting that video about Taylor Swift was ridiculous. And I got so many people RTing me with, this bitch doesn't understand. This bitch is coming after our bae. This bitch. It was always this bitch. So I'm pretty sure it was like the same group, or at least one guy with several accounts. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, some people are just very intolerant of any critique. They're very intolerant of anything that may actually hurt a brand, and they will go after you. You've all seen it. I mean, some of you see that every day, experience it every day, and that's why you do have to gauge your tolerances and gauge when to put them high and when to put them low, I suppose. But I have found that the lower they are, the happier you really feel.
Sorry, I was distracted. The Misfits just put out a thing and says, "Name what your 28th Amendment will be."
Oh yes, yes. Tacos every Tuesday. I did not. I didn't have any 28th Amendments today, but I'm pretty stunned that a president would declare this to be the law of the land when supposedly he was a lawyer, and and I'm pretty sure I was there when this was voted on. I remember when this happened, and I remember how it wasn't 38 states that voted to ratify this thing. It was much less. So for him to say that, the states have spoken because it was more than 50%, yeah, that's not the way it works. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that we've made laws to where we pretty much have to pay women the same and stuff. I mean, I always get into that whole 78 cents thing drives me crazy.
Well, that's just it. If you actually do the math, and Stacy has done the math, there is no pay gap. Men statistically work longer hours than women because women go home to be with their children. This is why there's this illusionary pay gap, because it's like I said, for most men, there's no such thing as a 40-hour work week. It's 50, 60, 65 at minimum. There's no 40-hour work week, because even if you have a 40-hour job, usually when you get done with that, you're going to go deliver pizzas or whatever else you got to do to pay down debt or whatever else you're working on or trying to put back money for a vacation or what the hell ever. If all you have is a 40-hour week, nearly minimum wage job, or usually working two, sometimes what I used to consider a job and a half, because I never really considered a part-time job a job. It was at least not a full job. It was like I have a job and a half because I work about 60 hours a week. I mean, like I said, I've never worked 40 hours a week. This whole idea that we have it in our heads that you should be able to survive flipping burgers for 40 hours a week is foreign to me. It's always been foreign to me. Sacking groceries is an entry-level position. Flipping burgers is an entry-level position. You should not get a job like that expecting to just be able to pay your bills, because then you have no drive to do anything else. You're going to spend the rest of your life being fucking SpongeBob SquarePants? That's what you want to do? Really? That's it? That's your end-all be-all of your existence? I find that really hard to believe.
It's really funny because one of my cousins he worked for Burger King, and it was a big deal in Puerto Rico. The Burger King, at the time, there was only one. It was in San Juan. So to get a job there, it was a big deal. I mean, and it wasn't that it was paying well. It was the fact that you're working at Burger King, So when he got a job there, he was very proud of that. But you know what he told me? I must have been 12 at the time. He said, "This is just the beginning, because I have worked at the only Burger King here on the island. And once I learn about the business and how businesses are run and everything, I can get a job somewhere else. He never saw it as that's going to be the rest of the job for the rest of his life. Now, there are some people who do start off, part time at Burger King or McDonald's or whatever, and work their way up to management, and it's great. They do become, that is their job for the rest. It does bring home, the money that you need to have a home, and it does that, but it's not that's not entry level. Management is not entry level, so that it doesn't. And I think that's where they try to equate the two by saying there are some people that work at McDonald's that this is their only job, and they have a home, and blah blah blah, and they make a living, and all that stuff, and we should have that for all of the people that work at the McDonald's. And I'm like, but that's not the way it works. I went to a McDonald's and I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, okay? And I am literally driving to Waco, halfway in between. There's a little town, and I stopped at the McDonald's there. Guess what? There were 4 kiosks. I could not talk to anybody about my order. I had to put in my order in a kiosk. And I swore to myself I would never stop at that McDonald's again, because there was no person.
Well, so mine had a person, right? And normally it doesn't bother me because most of the time anymore, because it's just easier. I just order from the app and I go pull up and I park in one of the spots, tell them I'm here, put my number in, and they bring the food to me. So there's no waiting in the line. There's none of the bullshit. Well, I couldn't get my app to work one day because it wasn't letting me log in. I was like, I'll just go through the drive-thru. So I pull up to the drive-thru screen, and all of a sudden this computer voice comes on that says, "I'm sorry, we are only accepting orders through our app. Please place your order through your app." And then a live voice comes on. And I said, "The whole reason I'm in the drive-thru line is because I can't make the app work." Well, you have to come inside for that. What the fuck are you there for then?
Yeah, it's just, it was bizarre to me. There were these 4 kiosks. I could not talk to anybody, but clearly there were people back in the kitchen, right? Obviously. But there was also 2 girls at the front, at the desk, at the front order counter. But they could not take your order. They could only call out your name when your order was ready. And I was like, no. And I asked, why do you have kiosks? It's like, the owner felt that this was easier for people. And I was like, okay, this is a really tiny town, y'all. 1 stoplight. That's it. And they had 4 kiosks. You don't think that this is going to go, everybody's going to eventually do this if they hike up the minimum wage as everybody wants to do? I mean, you hear about the stuff that's going on in Seattle now. Places are closing down because they can't afford the minimum wage anymore.
Well, yeah.
So
this is something that I've been talking about now for a while, because the most interesting thing about this whole fight for 15 that's now become fight for 20 and fight for 25 and whatever fucking number you want it to be is this whole idea that they couch it like they're trying to do something for the little guy who's just starting out and has to take a low paying job and can't afford to do rent or this, that, and the other. Neither could any of us when we started. I had roommates when I first moved out because I didn't have a choice. There were 4 of us, like, crammed in a 3-bedroom house. We were one of us. We rotated rooms. Like, one night a week, one of us slept on the couch, and we rotated. And it usually wound up being a couple nights a week by the time we were done. But then again, we were always working, so there was only a few nights a week that we were all home. But if we were all ever home, then we had to rotate. And somebody slept on the couch, and the other 3 got a room. And that's just the way it was. I mean, hell, even the whole premise of the sitcom Friends was you can't make it on your own when you're just starting out. Why do we suddenly have this thing where by the time you're 22, you're supposed to be out with your first $1 million in the bank, got your college degree already, got your Bugatti, and you've got your 12 bathroom, 44 bedroom mansion all set and ready to go? That's not how life has ever worked. And I get it. Some people are able to trap lightning in a bottle thanks to social media, and they get there. but that's usually because they're doing things that you and I would never do. Most of these people that are making thousands of dollars on payouts on things like X and TikTok and everything else, they're showing things that you and I either don't have or wouldn't want to show. That's how it works. It's just dumb to think that you're going to be able to do that. And look, I get it. Part of how I make money is because I have been figuring out how to do that. But I'm doing it at a much slower pace than a lot of these people. And it's been a long, hard road. And I've been doing it for a long time. And part of the reason I'm still doing it is because I'm too fucking stubborn to quit. Even my dad's looked at me like twice in the last year going, "You're not making half of what you said you were going to be making. Why are you not looking for another job yet?" Because I fucking refuse. Because I'm going to do this or I'm going to die trying. There just has to be a point when you decide this is what I'm going to do, and I'm either going to make it work or I'm going to watch it burn, and I'm not going to move on until it does burn. And that just has to be the decision point for you. And
That has to be your tolerance point.
I mean, it's just that simple, because you either decide this is what you're going to do or it's not. You can't be half in and half out all the time. And that's part of what has made everything the way it is right now, because everybody just wants to be able to come right out of high school, right out of college, get their little 4-year degree. Next thing you know, they're making $250,000 a year. No, life has never been that way. It's never going to be that way.
No.
I wish it was, but part of the reason why nobody knows that it is anymore is because of tolerance, because of the participation trophies and everything else. I'm so glad that at least the younger folks within Gen Z have gotten away from that shit. The cusp Zs and I don't even know what they're called because they haven't come up with a name for the hybrid between millennials and Zs yet. But the middle Zs and the younger Zs,
millennials,
have figured out that life isn't always sunshine, roses, and lollipops. It's never going to be. And this whole idea of you have to be tolerant of people that hate you. No, fuck that. That's exactly what's happening in Great Britain right now. Their society is crumbling because their government has decided tolerance matters above all else. Doesn't matter what these people are doing to their school-age kids. Doesn't matter what they're doing in their businesses. Doesn't matter how many people are being beheaded in the streets because, they're infidels. And this whole tolerance means you have to realize that Islam is a religion of peace. I'm sorry, as long as their book says they can rape infidels to embarrass them, that doesn't make them a religion of peace in my book. And if that makes me a bigot, so fucking be it.
Well, when I was in school, peace, their direct translation is actually surrender, not peace.
Oh, I know.
That's when they would reach peace, is when everybody would surrender. So yeah, my tolerance for that shit has been long gone. I mean, I have none. So like I always say, a bad Muslim is the Muslim that you want on your side. You don't want the good ones. Trust me. Anyway, and with that, I guess we should wrap up because we are a little over.
Well, that's good because apparently my computer's decided to be stupid. So I'm not even sure if they can hear us anymore.
Oh, dear.
All of a sudden, I have a white screen where the live was like 2 seconds ago. And I'm like, it was just working and everything else is still working. So I assume it's broadcasting. I can't see anymore. So.
Well, you can go ahead and tell us where we can find you.
It's a long list. You sure you want to listen?
I know.
All right. You can find me tomorrow night doing what's tomorrow night again? Okay.
Saturday.
Juxtaposition. 10 p.m. Eastern with myself and Ordnance J. Packard. Sunday night's usually America Off the Rails, but for the short time, I'm moving it back to Mondays because the ladies of the Red Wine weren't ready to come back yet. So they're not coming back until sometime in February. So for now, it's moving to Mondays again. And then Tuesday, and actually Monday during the day, we will be live streaming the inauguration while I'm also live blogging on Twitchy. So again, thank God that Miley Cyrus isn't performing because I would need eye bleeds. And then Tuesday, I will be doing the Daily Show again, noon to 3, as long as I have no health issues, because lately they have been myriad. So far, I'm considering a refund on 2025 because I'm only slightly outside of the 14-day trial. That's fine. And then, so Tuesday through Friday next week, noon to 3, Rick Robinson Show. Tuesday night, Manorama, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on KLR Radio, as well as Rancor Steve Drumble and YouTube channel. If you missed last week's episode, you should go check it out. We actually had a Playboy model on. Just saying. You should go watch. Just saying. And then let's see, Wednesday night, I think we are going to be back to normal. I think so. There'll be some sort of grab bag, possibly at 7 p.m. Eastern. G's back at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then myself and Stacy at 10 p.m. Eastern. No, hang on. 9 p.m. Eastern. Sorry. So yeah, 7 Eastern for grab bag, 8 for G. I'm messing something up somewhere. 9 Eastern for me and Stacy, and then 10 Eastern for me and Ordy. Then we change over to SHR Media, and I'll probably be running content for them till like 2 in the morning because they keep adding shows over there. And then Thursday, Jen and Rick, 10 p.m. Eastern, as long as we can touch base. And then Friday, back around doing this with you. When I'm not doing all that, you can find me as the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on Tuesdays. You can find me as a contributor there, loftusparty.com, misfitspolitics.com, and twitchy.com. And I hope to actually be writing some there tomorrow. But I think I'm going to stop saying that soon because every time I say it, I get sick. And I think I'm jinxing myself. So this will probably be the last time I say that I'm going to start writing there because it never works. But anyway. So where can folks find you in the event that they can still hear us?
Well, I think they can hear us because they have been replying. You can find me at Aggie Beacon and at Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X. You can find me Tuesday nights during the Cocktail Lounge with the ever suave Brad Slager at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Also at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Friday nights doing He Said, She Said, like we did tonight with Rowdy Rick. First Monday of every month, we do Spirited Books, and also at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. That's myself and Jeff. And second Wednesday of every month, Toxic Masculinity at 8 p.m. Eastern, where the guys get together. And we host a Babe of the Month, and I bring the drink of the evening. But I don't drink. But anyway, thanks for joining us, y'all. We hope you have a lovely evening.
All right, hang on. I queued up something special to go out with. I just got to get it. We'll see if Aggie gets this one in a minute.
White shirt, now red, my bloody nose sleeping. You're on your tippy
What
toes.
in the world?
Like
Hang on, it'll make sense in a minute.
So criminal. Bruises on both my knees for you. Don't say thank you. Oh, please, I do what I want when I'm wanting to. My soul, so cynical. So you're a tough guy, like you really rough guy. Just can't get enough guy, just always so puff guy. I'm that bad type, make your mama sad type, make your girlfriend mad type, might seduce your dad type. I'm the bad guy. Duh.
Sorry, I just thought I'm the bad guy was fitting.
That was pretty cool. Wow. I was a little ranty. Sorry about that. Still there?
All my frantic trying to get in again finally worked. So hang on.